In the conference room at Apex Technologies, the air turned to ice the moment she stepped in. No designer bag, no heels, no flashy watch, just a quiet woman in worn flats, a ponytail, and a plain folder held close to her chest. The HR director, Victoria, arched an eyebrow and muttered just loud enough to sting. She looks like she borrowed that outfit from a lost and found box. A slick-haired guy in a pinstripe suit, another candidate, chimed in without hesitation. We're interviewing candidates, not collecting charity cases. Laughter rippled through the room. The panel barely glanced at her resume, eyes racing up and down like she was a mistake someone forgot to cancel. But Emma stood still, face steady, folder in hand. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know the man who built this company from the ground up was her husband. Apex, the Silicon Valley fortress, loomed like a titan 50 floors of steel and glass. A tech empire that bent the world to its will. The 40th floor interview room was a power hub, long mahogany table, wall-to-wall windows framing the valley, screens humming with data. Emma stepped in, her dark hair loose in that ponytail, her hazel eyes bright but gentle. She was beautiful, grace carved into every line, but her thrift store outfit and scuffed flats marked her a stranger here. Beneath that quiet shell was a mind that could crack code like glass and a heart that didn't bend. She'd clawed through rounds of interviews for a leadership position. Her nights spent refining systems that would make Apex unstoppable. But they didn't see that. They saw a nobody in cheap threads. The panel sat like Jejesphiv of them, suits sharp, faces colder than the glass. Victoria Brooks, HR director, perched at the head, her red blazer a warning, her blonde bob tight. Richard Palmer, senior exec, lounged beside her, Rolex flashing, pen twirling in his fingers. James Hensley, 28, dynasty brat, smirked in a suit that screamed money, his tie a silk noose. Sarah Chen, data strategist, peered through sleek glasses, her lips a thin line. Brian Evans, operations lead, slouched, arms crossed, his buzz cut glinting under the lights. Hundreds had applied. Now it was Emma versus James, but their eyes said the fight was over before it started. Emma handed Victoria her resume, plain white paper, no frills, just her name and a trail of quiet wins. Victoria took it, smirked, and slid it to Richard without a glance. He flicked it back, scoffing, "There's no need." The pages skidded across the table, stopping crooked in front of Emma. No relevant experience, average education, wrong major. So tell us why, exactly, do you think you're a fit for this company? His tone was acid, like she'd spat on their floor. Emma straightened, voice calm. I've spent 8 years building scalable systems. My last startup tripled its revenue with my framework. I'm here because I can solve problems Apex hasn't named yet. James cut in, laughing. Scalable systems? What, like a lemonade stand app? This isn't a pity hire. Victoria smirked. She's delusional. Probably thinks a spreadsheet's high-tech. Sarah leaned forward. What's your degree? Sociology. This is Apex, not a book club. Emma nodded. It's computer science with a focus on AI ethics. I've published. Brian barked over her. Published? We don't need homework. We need results. You're drowning here. She tried again. My last project cut processing times by. James drowned her out. Save the bedtime stories, kid. No one's buying. Victoria didn't stop. She grabbed a marker from the table and scrolled loser across Emma's resume. The black ink bleeding through as she sneered. That's your title now. James hooted. Sign it. Frame it. While Richard clapped. She's a masterpiece of failure. The panel roared, phones out, filming the defaced pages, and Emma stood there, ink smearing under her fingers as she held it, her flats rooted. But she didn't snap, just let the word hang, her calm a shield against their venom. The venom spread fast. Victoria tapped her pen. You're wasting our air. Did you borrow that skirt from a thrift bin? Richard chuckled. She looks like she's dressed for the flea market. Where's the haggling booth? James leaned back. Never seen a boardroom, have you? Maybe on a sitcom. Their laughter bounced off the walls. Sharp, cruel, a pack closing in. Emma kept her cool. I'm here to talk qualifications, not clothes. Victoria rolled her eyes. Qualifications? Honey, you don't have any we'd touch. Sarah smirked. Try retail. Suits that vibe. Brian grinned. Yeah, stick to the bottom rung. This is big leagues, not a charity drive. Sarah upped the ante. She snatched a stapler and fired it at Emma's papers, the metal teeth punching holes as she hissed. Let's shred the fairy tale. Brian laughed. Swiss cheese resume, while Victoria smirked. Matches her holes for brains. The pages tore, staples scattering across the table, and Emma bent to gather them. Her hands steadied despite the sting, but Sarah kicked them off the edge. Trash stays down. Her silence was a wall they couldn't breach. They piled on. Richard stood. Let's spice it up. A surprise test. Logic and coding right now. No laptop. Pen and paper only. Prove you're not a fraud. He shoved a thick packet at her, 10 pages, problems twisted like knots, the kind that would break most coders. Emma took it, hands steady. All right, she bent over it, pen flying, equations loops, proofs pouring out like she'd lived them. 5 minutes ticked by. James yawned loud. Victoria scrolled her phone. Sarah muttered, she's scribbling nonsense. Emma slid it back. Done. Richard snatched it, skimmed a corner, then ripped it in half slow, deliberate. The tear screaming in the silence. He tossed it in the trash. Bare minimum. You're not even close. Total waste. James took it further. He grabbed a water pitcher from the table and dumped it over Emma's head. The icy flood soaking her blouse and skirt as he jeered, cool off, dreamer. Richard cackled. She's a wet mess now, while Sarah snapped a pic, viral gold. Water dripped down her face, pooling at her flats, and Emma blinked through the chill. Her ponytail plastered, but she didn't flinch, just stood there, her strength a fire they couldn't douse. Victoria grabbed her phone. Security, now. Intruder alert. James laughed. Escort her out. She's a stain on the room. Brian smirked. Don't trip, sweetheart. 2 guards stormed in, big black polos, badges glinting. One gripped her arm, the other yanked her folder. Brian escalated it. He snatched Emma's folder from her hands and tore it to pieces, the scraps fluttering like confetti as he barked, no room for fakes here. Victoria cheered, rip her dreams apart, while James tossed a pen at her. Write your sob story somewhere else. The shredded bits hit the floor, her work in tatters, and Emma knelt to pick them up, her fingers steady. But Brian stomped them into the carpet. Stay down, nobody. Her calm was a rock they couldn't crack. Move, the first guard growled, dragging her to the door. Emma didn't fight, just walked, flats silent, face composed as James shouted, mailroom's hiring. The door slammed, their laughter seeping through, and the elevator swallowed her. Humiliated, but her spine stayed still. Richard sealed the humiliation. He yanked a trash can from under the table and dumped it over Emma. As the guards pulled Herkefy grounds and crumpled paper raining down as he sneered. Here's where you belong. Sarah laughed, garbage girls complete, while Victoria clapped, perfect exit for a fraud. The mess clung to her wet blouse, ground sticking to her hair, and Emma shook it off, her flats slipping. But she didn't break, just walked, her hazel eyes hard, their cruelty a storm she faced unflinching. It didn't stop there. Victoria had leaned over as Emma passed, hissing, "You're a joke. Go back to flipping burgers." Richard flicked a paperclip at her. "Here's your bonus. Spend it wisely." It bounced off her shoulder, clattering to the floor. James stood. "Wait, let's give her a send-off." He grabbed a coffee cup from the table, half full, cold, and splashed it across her blouse, the brown stain blooming fast. "There's your Apex welcome," he jeered as Sarah clapped. "Perfect. She's branded now." Emma wiped her cheek, coffee dripping, but didn't flinch, just kept walking, the guards pulling harder. The lobby hit her like a slap, marble gleaming, employees bustling, oblivious to the woman in stained gray being marched out. The guards didn't ease up. One shoved her shoulder, "Keep moving," while the other tossed her folder into a bin by the exit. "Don't come back," he barked as the glass doors swung open. Emma stepped into the sunlight, coffee soaking her shirt, resumed trashed, but her hazel eyes stayed clear. She'd faced worse than this. Years of grinding, proving herself in rooms that didn't want her. This wasn't about pride. It was about every soul they'd crushed before her. She pulled out her phone, dialed. "Marcus, it's me. It went bad." His voice tightened. "How bad?" She told him, Calm, no tears. The coffee, the test, the guards. I'm coming, he said. Now. Morning broke with a storm of its own. Apex's executive floor buzzed on emergency meeting. No warning, no mercy. Senior heads poured into the boardroom, 30 of them. Suits starched, faces taut, shareholders lurking, a live feed beaming to investors worldwide. The room was a war zone waiting to ignite. Mahogany tables stretching endless, screens glowing, the valley sprawling below. Victoria sat up front, blazer pristine. Richard twirled his pen. James lounged, tie sloppy. Sarah adjusted her glasses. Brian checked his watch. They figured it was a power play. Promotions, raises, their moment to shine. Then the doors crashed open, and the world tilted. Marcus Storm strode in tall, 42, dark hair graying at the edges, black suit sharp as a razor, blue eyes cold as ice. The phantom CEO of Apex, a billionaire who'd risen from nothing. Trailer park kid coding on a library junker, turning scraps into an empire that owned the tech skyline. Feared in boardrooms from Shanghai to London, he'd been a ghost for months, running things from shadows. Everyone stood, chairs scraping, breaths caught. Beside him walked Emma. Same stained blouse, same skirt, flats tapping soft, ponytail swaying, her hazel eyes unflinching. Faces drained. Victoria's pen snapped. Richard's clattered. James shrank. Sarah's glasses fogged. Brian choked. Marcus stopped, voice deadly calm. Sit. They dropped like stones. He scanned them. I gave this team one job. Evaluate candidates for leadership so I could spot who's ready to rise. But yesterday, you didn't interview a candidate. He paused, the silence a blade. Then turned to Emma. You insulted my wife. Gasps punched the air. Victoria's hand shook. Richard's jaw hit the table. James's chair squeaked as he curled in. Marcus stepped closer. Emma and I built Apex from dirt. 2 broke kids. No sleep, no cash. I wired the hardware. She forged the AI. Every system you cash in on. Her mind's the root. You didn't just miss a resume. You humiliated the woman I love most. He pointed. Victoria, Richard, James, Sarah, Brian. Repeat what you said yesterday. Now. To the board. The room choked. Victoria stammered. I didn't. Marcus cut her off. No dodging. Speak. A tech flicked the screen. Security footage, raw and loud. Victoria's hiss. She looks like a student applying for a part-time job. James's cackle. Janitorial services. Where's the mop? Richard's sneer. No experience. Wrong major. Sarah's jab. Try retail. Brian's quip. Out of her depth. Richard again. Dressed for the flea market. James's finale. Mailroom's hiring. The boardroom froze. Shareholders shifted. Investors glared through the feed. The words a death knell ringing. Victoria's red blazer was a shroud now. Her marker a noose. She'd defaced the woman whose code ran their empire, and her hands shook as she faced the board. Her smug hiss replayed for millions. Her career a smoking ruin. Richard's Rolex dangled useless, his coffee splash a chain. He'd soaked the brain behind their profits, and the trash he dumped buried him. His name blacklisted to oblivion. James's pinstriped suit hung limp, his water dump a scar. He drenched the soul of Apex, and his dynasty's doors slammed shut. His laughter a ghost as investors jeered. The screen burned their shame into history. Every sneer, every jab a nail in their coffins. Emma's quiet rise their executioner. Marcus didn't flinch. You tore her test, solved perfectly, faster than you dream. You threw coffee. You called security. Say it again. Victoria's lips quivered. I can't. James stared at his shoes, mute. Richard rasped. Mistake. Sarah whispered. We didn't know. Brian croaked. Sorry. Marcus leaned in. Sorry's nothing. You showed me who you are. Small. Cruel. Blind. Apex doesn't carry trash. He nodded to security. Same guards, same polos. Take them. They're finished. The room held its breath as the guards moved. Victoria's blazer dragged. Richard's Rolex dangled. James's tie flopped. Sarah's glasses slipped. Brian's buzzcut bowed. The fallout was a wildfire. Victoria, Richard, James, Sarah, Brian fired on the spot. Badges ripped. Marched out as the board watched. Shareholders nodding, investors typing furious notes. Sarah's glasses couldn't hide her fall, her staples awry. She'd shredded the work of Apex's architect, and now her resume was the trash. Her smug picks a viral curse as the industry spat her out. Ryan's buzzcut bowed low, his folder tearing a brand. He'd ripped apart the woman who'd built their world, and his stomp echoed as he hit rock bottom, begging beside Richard while Emma's coin glinted in his palm. The boardroom's silence roared with their ruin. Every laugh, every cut a boomerang that smashed them. Marcus's calm wrath and Emma's steady gaze the gavel, dropping their own words the rope that hanged them. Apex blacklisted them, names torched across the industry. No firm would touch them, resumes shredded. Calls blocked, LinkedIn profiles dead air. Victoria's blazer hit a thrift rack. Richard's Rolex pawned for rent. James's dynasty disowned him. Sarah's glasses sold for scraps. Ryan's swagger crumbled to dust. Their titles, their reps, their lives erased in a heartbeat, all for sneers at a woman they didn't see. 6 months later, rain lashed a downtown station. Commuters rushing, umbrellas snapping. Richard Palmer slumped against the wall. Once an Apex exec, now unshaven, coat torn, a cardboard sign shaking in his hands. Please help. His Rolex was gone, his sneer a faint echo, his fingers trembling in the cold. Heels clicked. Emma, hair still in that ponytail, now in a navy coat, her presence a quiet storm. She just keynoted at an AI ethics summit, her voice bending the future while his broke apart. She paused, reached into her pocket, pulled a quarter shinny, Colden dropped it into his palm. It glinted. The guy who'd ripped her test now clutching her coin. She met his eyes, a faint smile flickering, then walked on, flats tapping steady. Her strength a silent thunder. That coin wasn't pity. It was justice. Cold and sharp. Emma didn't need to scream. She let their own rot bury them. She'd forged Apex's heart, and they'd spat on it until Marcus turned their world to ash. Now she stood taller while they sank low, a lesson carved in their fall. Emma's journey reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and that those who judge others based solely on outward impressions often pay a steep price for their arrogance. Her quiet dignity in the face of cruelty ultimately revealed the true strength of her character and exposed the weakness in those who sought to diminish her. In a world that often values style over substance, this tale serves as a powerful reminder that true worth lies beneath the surface, and that karma has a way of balancing the scales of justice. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to Tales of the Heart for more compelling narratives that explore the depths of human experience. Every subscription helps us continue sharing stories that touch hearts and change perspectives.